What's happening, Wargamers? Welcome to another episode of the Dossier, the Marvel Crisis Protocol show, where we talk about Crisis Protocol characters, their sculpts, their designs, their character cards, what they bring to the table, and just generally what we feel about the model as our sort of initial reactions to them. Remember, this is not a review show. This is just kind of meant to be a quick discussion starter for these characters. There's lots of great discussions online that we definitely recommend you go and check out for yourself if you want to learn more about a lot of these characters. And of course, this show can't happen without the wonderful support of the patrons over at patreon.com/AegisBrandStudios. A couple bucks a month keeps the lights on, keeps the content current, and allows us to keep justifying time to this. So thank you so much for everyone who is a patron over there. If you check it out yourself, you can also join our wonderful Patreon community and just get involved in the discussion that way. So today we are taking a look at Bobby Drake Iceman. And I think this is an exceptionally, part of the pun, cool model here. So it's really emblematic of Iceman himself. He is sliding across, excuse the cough. He's sliding across using his ice slide here. You can see him generating, got the nice little icicle spikes hanging down the bottom there. Really kind of nice. Even got some good texture on him as well. Like you can see along the hair, the back of the arms and the shoulders there. Again, more texture. And it's a nice little touch because otherwise he could have been a very smooth model. And I think it would have been very uninteresting as a result for it. Very easy to paint, mostly blues and whites. As you can see here, I actually added a bunch of the Green Stuff World Liquid Frost just to kind of add to that overall effect of the ice being frozen and everything like that. And it turned out really nicely. He's got some good size to the model. He has some really nice presence on the table itself. Honestly, I got no real notes about this model. I like it. I think it's fine, and I think it does a really good job representing what Iceman is. As for his card, though, we have a 4/3/3 defensive stat line, 5 stamina on both sides, 3 threat, size 2, medium move. For a 3 threat, this stat line's okay. I'm not huge on the 5/5 stamina. I always feel that's a little on the light side of stamina. It means he can't really take that many punches. But Iceman is supposed to be a little bit more mobile, a little bit harder to pin down, and at least he does have the 4 physical defense to kind of help him out there. So as for his attacks, he's got an energy attack, freezing blast, beam 3, 4 dice. It is a gainer, so every target that gets hit with it, he will gain 1 power for it with a wild slow. Uh, it's 4 dice. At least it's a gainer. It means he's going to gain that power back nicely. If you can get the slow off, that's really nice. Not my favorite attack. I've gone on about 4 dice attacks enough times. Don't rely on it for damage. This is more of a power generator than anything else. Next up, we have an energy attack, Chill, range 3, 7 dice for 3 power with a wild stagger. This is an okay spender. I don't know. Because of that stagger, 3 power is very appropriate. If it didn't have the wild stagger, I'd probably push for 2 power. It's fine. You're throwing 7 dice, hoping for that wild. I think again, this is one of those attacks where you're not really doing it to try and do a lot of damage. You're doing it more to get the stagger in, more than anything else. And it's always kind of unfortunate to say that about some attacks, but it's perfectly serviceable. Next up, we have Freeze and Fade, an active ability for 2 power. It's an action. This character immediately makes an attack action followed by a move action. This character counts as size 5 during the move action, can only be used once per turn. So basically, it's a hit and run. With the extra caveat that because he becomes size 5, he can move over large pieces of terrain that are larger than his size 2. That's all that size really does for him. It doesn't change anything else in the grand scheme of the game, because he immediately becomes his size 2 again as soon as he completes this particular action. Great way of getting around the board. Again, no real notes on it. We have Ice Slide as a reactive ability for 2 power. During this character's activation, when it begins a move action within 2 of another allied character of size 2 or less, it may use this superpower. After this action is resolved, place the allied character within 2 of its current position, can only be once per turn. This is basically Sam's airlift. It's good. I like it. Remember, it's not within 2 of Iceman, it's just place the target character within range 2 of itself. Which is really nice. It's a great way of getting somebody back into position potentially that maybe got pushed out away, or maybe bring a bodyguard with you. Just something that allows you to move your team around, which is really kind of cool. I really dig this for Iceman. It's probably one of my favorite abilities he has for this particular one. Lastly, we have an innate ability, Cold Snap. When an enemy character ends a move action or attack action within 2 of this character, it gains the slow special condition. If the enemy character already has the slow special condition, it suffers 1 damage instead. This is an interesting one because at first I didn't really know what to make of it, but now that I've seen it in play a little bit, it causes so much mental load on the other player, especially if they're not really familiar with it, because they're constantly looking at it's like, okay, well, if I do this, am I going to get slowed? Am I going to take some damage? And it's great for that really, because it really creates a puzzle for the other person that has to figure out. Otherwise, they're going to be debilitating themselves in such a way that maybe makes it hard for them to get around, or even starts doing damage. And I want to point out, it's just a move action or attack action. So other things like places, throws, pushes, those do not trigger Cold Snap. It is only these other things. But what it means is characters who have charges, for instance, where they will do a move action followed by an attack action, that's a slow and a damage right there if they're attacking Iceman. And if they want to punch him again, that's going to be another one right there. So you've potentially just done 2 damage and slowed a character just by virtue of them wanting to punch Iceman. So it's a really interesting one to use, and I think if you can get Iceman into an interesting position, he can really create some weird situations that the other player needs to kind of figure out. Otherwise, they're just going to inadvertently hurt themselves. So, does he bring anything else to the table? Well, he does come with a card called Untapped Potential. It's an unaffiliated active card. If it's Iceman's activation, Emma Frost may play this card. During the activation, superpowers and attacks used by Iceman may spend power from either Iceman or Emma Frost. I find my Emmas usually have a pretty good chunk of power, so that's actually kind of nice. There's no range limitation on it either. And attacks made by Iceman in this activation add 1 die to their attack rolls. It makes his beam a little bit better, which I really kind of dig. Like, honestly, I'd probably use his beam over his chill in this particular instance. Just getting like 2 or 3 5-dice attacks on a bunch of different characters. I really like it. Additionally, during this activation, Iceman may use superpowers on a stack card any number of times, even if they say they can only be used once. This one's nice. It's neat. It's not terribly broken or overpowered, but it means he can potentially freeze and fade twice, or it means he can potentially ice slide a whole bunch of times and really get mobile around the table and really just move a whole bunch of characters around. So there's some really cool stuff to it. Is it an amazing card? Nah. Is it a fun card? Yeah, and I think it's very thematic. Because I always remember an old comic arc where Iceman had a giant gaping hole in his chest, and it was the White Queen that convinced him to turn back to his normal form to prove that he was powerful enough that he'd still be alive. So I kind of like that sort of callback to that relationship. So as far as what Iceman does on the table itself, well, he's kind of, to me, he's kind of like a skirmisher. You want to like skirt him around the edges a little bit, maybe grab an objective, and then place him somewhere where he's just going to cause the most problems for the other player. So what teams does he work in? Well, we've run him in Hellfire Club. I think he actually did some pretty good work there. Obviously in X-Men with the Storm bump, he's got a nice big medium base, so he really benefits from that. Get a little bit of cover, makes him harder to, or not cover, reroll defense, makes him harder to take down. A lot of people have been really high on him in Web Warriors, and I think he does actually have a nice little home there, which is kind of cool. I also like the idea of him maybe in Midnight Suns. He's a 3-threat splash that can maybe get one of your other characters into a better position to take advantage of a Siege of Darkness, for instance. Like he can do an ice slide and put Blade into a position where now he's using his katana as opposed to his glaives or something like that. So I really like him there as well. Other places, I mean, it takes a little bit more work to kind of get him going a little bit. I think my biggest concern with him, though, is he feels very much like an ice version of the Human Torch from S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's a little rough because Human Torch goes down really fast. Iceman also kind of goes down kind of fast, which is really unfortunate. If somebody wants to focus him, they will take him down, unfortunately. So jury is still out. I don't think he's as bad as a lot of people are claiming he is. I think once I got him on the table, I was really feeling differently about what he kind of brings in his kit. Does it mean I think he's amazing? Absolutely not. But I think he's interesting, and I mean, with the Human Torch comparison, I think while they share a lot of similar problems, I do think that Cold Snap makes him a little bit more interesting than the Human Torch does, because it does give him sort of a passive thing that just causes some problems for the other player. So sound off in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Iceman in Marvel Crisis Protocol? Good, bad, neutral? Where do you like him? All that sort of stuff. And of course, if you want to see more content like this, hit that like, subscribe button, leave comments, and of course, hit up the Patreon. A couple bucks a month keeps all this content coming your way. And, I can't thank you guys enough for all that. So thank you so much for watching. Happy wargaming.